The topic of this video might seem a little bit pedantic, but I think that it's important enough to try to be precise. So, I'm going to talk about the use of this word literal and literally. Paul released a video today where he kind of went on a rant about it.
The gun, there's nothing written about the gun. It's not literal, as it is written. No. It's physically. There's a bullet in the chamber, in the physical world. Physical. Not literal.
And he's wrong about it, so I just wanted to correct him in a gentle way. When we don't know the meaning of a word, the best place to look is a dictionary. The common dictionary meanings of the word literal and literally are actually, really, according to the primary meaning, and sometimes exaggeratedly, which is how I will use it in the title of this video, and it will be clear by the use of all caps that I'm using it in that exaggerated, non-literal way. So Luke says this a lot, tries to not use the word literal, and he tends to use the word actually. Paul was using the word physically, which is not a good replacement. Actually is a good replacement, but we don't use the word actually because of memes. So instead we say literally because we don't want to be made fun of. So there is a connection between the word literal and literature, or letters, really. It comes from the Latin word for letters, and there's a reason for that, because words correspond to things. They are not merely social constructs, although our understanding of words is a product of social constructs. Words themselves, as tools, are supposed to correspond to things. And so when something is literal, it means as it is written. It's a correspondence to the way that something is described, or how it actually is, or its primary meaning. So something literal is a translation from something written to something said, or it can mean the exact way that somebody says it. I said it literally, word for word, the way that I heard it. Now, the word, as according to writing, that Paul is trying to use, that's actually a different word, because that is what literary means. And the adverbial mode of that is literarily. So literarily true or literarily correct means according to writing and the ways of writing. And so according to the rules of writing, I should say. So, and as an example, I can say hobbits have hairy feet. This is not literally true, because there are no such things as hobbits. But it is literarily true because it's true within the writings of Tolkien, who invented hobbits and their hairy feet. Why is physical not a good replacement for the word literal? Because physical is a more limited term. And the first example that they talked about was something like determinism. Is it literally true or figuratively true? And if you say it's physically true, well, things being physically true about determinism it's a more limited understanding. For example, if I want to lift an elephant, physically I cannot. It is physically determined that I cannot lift an elephant without getting things like levers and pulleys involved. So the physical limits of things are determined, but that's not the whole meaning of determinism. So when you're talking about something like determinism, it's a bigger concept than being physically true or not true. This is important because what the video that Paul made, what he was talking about, is that faith is about what you do and not simply what you believe. Or to know what you believe, you have to see it in the way you live it out, not just the words. So while I am arguing about the meaning of words here, to argue about the meaning of words, especially if you're wrong, it goes against the whole message that he was trying to convey in the video, I would say. So the reason why this is important is because the question is, where do words get their meaning? And this is a bigger issue, because this really determines how we can have these kind of conversations. If the meaning of words is innate, if it's something that is put there by God or something, then they are untranslatable in a sense. And this is kind of the position of the Muslims, where you cannot critique the Quran in any language other than Arabic, because to translate the Quran from Arabic into English is to change what it is. The meaning of the words in the Quran is innate in their Arabic essence. And the same claim is made by other religions with other languages, including, in English, King James onlyists. And this is a really important topic along those lines, because we don't want to fall into their mistake. So the other places where words could get their meaning is, we could say, do words get their meaning from who coined the term? Perhaps, Shakespeare invented a lot of language. John Vervaeke's always inventing new words. We are using those words. Now, John could come along and correct us anytime we use one of his words and say, you're not using that word correctly. That doesn't seem the way that he wants to operate. And, that doesn't seem to be the position that he holds. Now, somebody else might hold that position, but then once that person is gone, if somebody wrote words and then they die, we can only speculate as to what they meant. We can try to create a convincing argument, but we can never really say. So for instance, are we really understanding Thomas Aquinas correctly? We don't know. But what we can see is what the effect of people who claim they understand Thomas Aquinas and how it affects their lives and how they act. And that way, if somebody else says, oh, they don't really understand him, it doesn't matter, because what matters is what they're doing, and that's based on what they understand. So the real best answer is that words, the meaning of words is defined by how they are understood, which is why dictionary definitions, while useful, change over time. And we can say, and it's helpful, sometimes it's helpful to know what the really old dictionary said. It can help us trace the change of thought over time. But if we want to know how a word is being used today, we should use the most up-to-date dictionary, and that'll give us the clearest understanding. In application, in the video that Chris Williams and Alex O'Connor are having, where they're using this word literally, they keep using it, and Chris is contrasting it, literally true, figuratively untrue, and literally false and figuratively true, or whatever. So he's giving us a context where it's very easy to understand. Basically, I don't think neither of them had any problem understanding each other. They were speaking the same language. They were understanding the use of that word just fine. And I think most of the listening audience probably also understood it just fine. And if we have a self-conscious thought about not using this word because somebody else is correcting people about it, that can cause trouble, because then it's disrupting our own thinking, I guess you could say, which is something that we have to consider. So this is how I come down to it in practical use. If words are defined by how they are understood, which I think they are, then Christians are held to a higher standard, both in their generosity and charity when listening to others, and in their clarity while speaking. And I think that this is true, in the way that God holds us accountable. For instance, Federici was saying that it's criminal what the translators of the NIV translation committee did in their rendering of the Hebrew into English. And I know that they are people that are trying to do the best they can in dealing with the struggles of translating from one language into another. However, if they make mistakes, God is still going to hold the reader accountable for what they read and understood out of the NIV. They are still responsible for hearing and receiving the truth, even if there are errors in translation. And so what should we use instead? This is the final bit. What should we use instead of saying literally? If we don't want to say literally because we are confused about that meaning and we want to be accurate in our speech, we could use actually because, but like I said, you're going to get memed. So my suggestion is we either use truly, or in the more, to reclaim a less frequently used word, we should say verily. Verily something is true. Truly true or verily true, like Jesus did, which carries along with it the aspect of something being verifiable, which pertains to that physical dimension. It is verifiable whether the pistol is loaded or not is a verifiable truth. But it doesn't limit. It's not limited to the physical. It has a fuller meaning. So that is my suggestion, and I'm going to add at the end of this a little bit of footage of some deers playing and getting along with a squirrel here in the woods. Thank you.